China, in the final days of the Han Dynasty, when the empire was cracking under its own weight. Warlords fought like gods across a fractured land. From the chaos rose two forces, the brutal ambition of Chancellor Cao Cao and the unyielding courage of southern warlords Sun Quan and Liu Bei. Their battleground? A narrow strait between mountains and riverbanks, a place that would be remembered forever as Red Cliff. This is not merely a tale of strategy and fire, it is the clash of philosophies, brotherhoods, and blades. War loomed like thunderclouds, and soon blood would be spilled to decide the fate of an empire. The winds carried the scent of war long before the dust reached the gates. Jinye, once a modest stronghold under the care of Liu Bei, stood vulnerable, a lantern in the path of a raging storm. Cao Cao, now armed with imperial legitimacy and unquenchable ambition, marched with a colossal force. Over 200,000 men, trained and brutal, pushed south like an iron wave. Their banners darkened the skyline. Their drums shook the earth. The world burned behind him. Smoke curled into the heavens. Ash clung to his armor like old ghosts. In the confusion, Lady Mi and the infant Liu Shan, Liu Bei's wife and son, had been separated from the main group. Every second counted. Zhao Yun did not hesitate. He didn't wait for orders. His heart was his command. Steel met bone as he charged alone into enemy ranks, a silver spear dancing death in his hands. Blood stained his white stallion, but he rode on, undaunted. He found them in a grove at the foot of a crumbling shrine. Lady Mai, injured and barely able to stand, cradled her child in torn silks. Her eyes met his, already full of sorrow. She knew what must be done. Take him. Save the bloodline. I will not slow you. Zhao Yun's jaw clenched. He would not accept it. He carved a path through dozens of soldiers, each one a stone in the river he would cross to reach them. Blades clanged against his armor. Arrows hissed by. Blood stained his white stallion. But he rode on, undaunted. He fought with one hand guiding the reins, the other wielding his spear like an extension of divine wrath. The cries of soldiers were drowned in the rhythm of hooves, the clash of steel, the roar of Zhao Yun's resolve. But even bravery like that was only a pause against a crushing tide. But ahead lay a flicker of hope. Cao Cao's men closed in on every side, hundreds against one. They thought him desperate. They thought him reckless. They had no idea they were facing a storm. He spun from flank to flank, slashing, parrying, deflecting strikes with the butt of his spear. The baby never slipped from his arms, even as blades scraped his armor and arrows rained from the trees. But Lady Mi had made her peace. With one final glance, she handed him Liu Shan, barely a year old, wrapped in cloth and tears. And then Lady Mi turned back. Her death was not seen, but it was felt. Lady Mi knew her fate. Zhao Yun didn't look back. Elsewhere, his comrades waited, blades drawn, hearts racing. Every second passed like thunder. In the distance, hoofbeats, screams. Steel. They feared the worst. Then, in one sharp command, Zhao's men raised their shields. A blinding flash of light, sunlight bouncing off polished bronze, pierced the cavalry's charge. Cao Cao's horses reared, panicked, crashing into their own riders. Chaos turned the tide. Liu Bei's people were scattered, hunted like animals by Cao Cao's relentless cavalry.
The ground trembled under the charge of Cao Cao's elite cavalry. Shields gleamed, banners whipped through the wind, and hooves thundered like war drums. At their head, iron-faced commanders roared for blood. The chase had gone long enough. They would crush the remnants of Liu Bei's force here and now. Shields rose, angled just right. Sunlight caught their bronze like fire. Amidst the smoke and ruin, Zhao Yun emerged, his armor torn, his blade bloodied, but his grip steady. Then, the sounds of pursuit echoed, hoofbeats, war cries, the enemy closing in.
With the child secured against his chest, Zhao Yun turned his fury upon the world. What followed was a legend carved in motion, a man alone, fighting his way out of hell. One heartbeat at a time.
Steel rang in the distance, but for Zhao Yun, the battle was far from over. Liu Bei was no stranger to war, yet the battlefield still weighed heavily on him. Amid the roar of war horns and the crash of steel, he stood among the chaos, not behind it. Zhao Yun stood, sword gleaming, body bruised, the weight of a child bound to his back. In a single motion, he drove his spear through the man's gut, twisted and flung him aside. Zhao Yun's movements became more desperate, but never reckless. Every strike was measured, every parry exact. His horse waited, pacing at the gate, battered but loyal. With one hand, he grabbed the saddle. In a fluid leap, he mounted the horse, body covering the baby instinctively. His armor, dirt-stained and cracked, bore the wear of countless battles. The imperial crest on his chest was scratched, faded, but still worn with pride. With sword in hand, he pushed forward. Soldiers clashed on all sides, but Liu Bei carved his path with purpose. Liu Bei fought with the grit of a man who knew what was at stake, his people, his oath, his legacy. A mounted enemy rushed toward him with a roar. Liu Bei shifted, sidestepped, and drove his blade upward through the man's side. He pressed on, unfazed. Blood sprayed, the horse screamed, and both toppled beside him. A cluster of enemy infantry surrounded him, hoping to overwhelm. Liu Bei met them head-on, eyes fierce. He parried the first strike, twisted his wrist, and slashed across two torsos in one movement.
And yet Zhao Yun pressed on, a lone rider in a storm of enemies. The retreat had descended into chaos. Every charge he made was a cry against fate.
Even wounded, he moved through the fray, a rallying point for his soldiers. He fought in the mud beside them, shoulder to shoulder, sword to sword, for honor, for justice, for the people. The battlefield seethed with dust and death. Steel clashed with steel. Zhao Yun weaved through Cao Cao's ranks like a shadow, swift, precise, untouchable. But through that chaos, a single sight cut clear. Zhao Yun, silver armor stained red, charging forward with a child cradled tight in one arm, his spear in the other. He was a storm wrapped in resolve. Enemy swords came for him, from behind, from the flanks, from above. But he moved with supernatural grace, one arm, one weapon, and still no man could bring him down. He spun, slashed, ducked low, and drove his spear into a soldier's gut, then with a single twist launched another into the dust. The baby let out a small cry, but Zhao Yun pressed on, teeth gritted, eyes sharp. Nearby, Liu Bei himself fought like a lion. His robe was tattered, sweat poured from his brow, but he stood tall in the fray. His blade was slower than Zhao Yun's, heavier, more deliberate, but it struck with righteous fury. With a roar, he drove his spear into the chest of a captain, ripped it free, and spun to guard the infant from another blade. They stormed like a tide, black armor, ruthless eyes, spears at the ready. But then, Zhao Yun came crashing through them like a meteor. He dove into the enemy lines, child still at his side, and tore a path straight through their heart. He parried a blow meant for one of his guards, then smashed the hilt into the attacker's jaw. His comrades saw him, and hope reignited in their hearts.
In the ashes of Xinye, the true war had only just begun.